Welcome back to Game 6 of Georgia versus Michigan. If you missed the last game, Georgia was able to take another game in this series. They are still down 2-3, but they're keeping themselves alive, and we could be looking at a very big upset if they're able to pull this off. Michigan is going into this game 3-2, which means if they do win, Georgia will be eliminated. So let's talk about the two starting pitchers, because the first time that these two stepped up in this series, it was a bloodbath. If you've been watching this series game by game, Game 2 was high scoring. Off the top of my head, I think it was like 13-9. And these were our two starting pitchers. So for Michigan, we have B- Camille Hope, who will be starting for them. And for Georgia, we have B+ Adriel Liu. Liu really struggled in Game 2 and actually will be entering today's game with a lowered mojo. And then Camille Hope didn't have the best of games either, but it was just such a high-scoring game that some of these stats are going to look a little bit weird. Potential elimination game. Georgia has taken 2 games off of Michigan, and again, they are a pretty big-time underdog here. So we're going to see how this pans out. Let's hop in. So important to note here, and this is something that I was talking about in our last game, Michigan has a number of players with really bad mojos right now. And when we're talking about a game like this, Georgia went 500. They went 40 wins, 40 losses in the regular season. It's very possible that they climb in here and grab another 2 wins. So Michigan is going to start things off here with a quick out. Munster here. Okay series. You would kind of expect a little bit of better stats from her so far, but can't complain. And she gets a nice hit there, but Crane is able to field it, and that will be out too. Harry Nichols is definitely one of the players who is struggling a bit for Georgia. Slow grounder. Hope is able to get it over, and that also just lowered Harry Nichols' mojo. So we'll see. Here we go, though. Michigan. Grubbs has been a great leadoff for them so far this series, and we'll see if he can start things off here, getting on base. Nice hard grounder past the shortstop, and he will get on base to start things off here for Michigan. As a reminder, for Georgia, it's extremely important for them that they keep these as low-scoring matches. Both of the wins that they have, I think that they came in games where under 5 runs were scored between both teams. So any kind of early deficit that Georgia is facing will be very big. Very nice strikeout there from Liu. Grayweather had an incredible first couple of games of this series. Hasn't been as big the past couple of games, but a great hit there. Lands right in between the center and right fielder. And Michigan now with a player on third, and then Grayweather there on first. And Grayweather is known for taking off. You see there, Georgia is kind of expecting it. Grounder, Nichols. Will they turn the double play? They do, and that is huge because that does not allow Michigan to get that 1 run. That throw from second looked really sloppy, but they got it over in time, and that's all that matters. Beautiful dive from Briggs there at shortstop. Gets out Hammond. So Griffin, as a reminder, in the regular season, she was second in the tournament in number of hits. So even though her stat line right now is, probably a little bit below average, she is a player that really needs to start getting some hits in order to progress Georgia through here, but she gets walked. In the regular season, she only had a 60% steal base percentage, so I kind of doubt that they take off with her here. Ace Werther's looks like he's dealing with a number of negative traits there, but that's going to result in a double play. And we're through the top of the second. Lou stepping in here. So we pitch 15 to start here. So that's very decent. I'll just leave it at that. Anything lower than that would be great, but going in about 15 pitches an inning, that is very good. Ooh, oh, Lou. Oh, man. Who was that? That was so slow. Wait a second. That was that Moody? Yeah, it must have been Moody. That was a really slow run to first. Trying to see if I can pull him up here. Yeah, Moody only has a 35 speed. That's why. Mayer here. Lou is able to field that one and might turn a double play. And they do. We've had now 3 big double plays already in this game. Crane has this rattled mojo right now, which just really lowers that contact bar for him, and he strikes out. So far, Georgia has yet to get a hit going into inning 3 here. So they're going to look to get something going. That ball is hit up. It's drifting foul, but it's going to be caught there by Hood. Slow grounder. Crane. Over to Mayer. Hangnail so far has really been kind of an under the radar guy. He's played very decently in center field for Georgia, and he's currently batting a .400 in this series. But definitely not a name that really has come up too much when it comes to the scoring and batting end of things. And he strikes out. Michigan has gotten people on both innings so far, and they're going to be starting off their inning with leadoff Samplemore. As a reminder, Samplemore is their designated hitter. Not great on the contact bar, but has a very solid power bar. Slow grounder. Lou fields it though, and gets the out. Friendly here is probably the most problematic player for Michigan in this series. Oh, I say that, and that one is cranked. Does it have the distance, though? It's going to be right at the wall. It does go out right as I make a comment about being the worst player on the team so far. She comes out and just cranks a home run. And that is huge for Michigan. Michigan, again, any lead that they get on Georgia is just very problematic compared to most other teams in this tournament. Just Georgia is not a high-scoring team. There we go with strike 3. Briggs is back up here. And Briggs has had a great series so far. Not only here batting, but also in the field. 3 balls to start things out from Lou. Her grounder, Peralta, is going to just take it to first herself. And that gets us through the 3rd inning. So Georgia does start out here with the top of their batting order, with Nicholson stepping up. Nicholson has been struggling, only batting a 100 so far. So far, watched the first 3 pitches. Gets that one, but Briggs, again, who's had a great series, gets it out to start us off here. Grounder, Hood fields that one, and they get it out too. As a reminder here, Camille Hope, who is pitching for Michigan here, in the regular season, had 6 wins, 3 losses as a starter, and had a 2.84 ERA, which is actually a very, very good ERA. And she gets the strike 3. Lou will be stepping back up. He's currently at 42 pitches. Lou, as a reminder, is a B-plus pitcher. In the regular season, he went 5 wins, 7 losses, and then had a 4.67 ERA. That ball is hit, and it will land in the gap there. It's picked up by Hangrail. Throws it into Munster. Michigan's going to start off this inning with a player on second. Okay, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Ball gets fouled out into the dugout. Another foul ball. Lose that now at 50 pitches. And he gets the strikeout. That was a beautiful pitch. Moody does have that power versus left-handed pitcher positive trait, however, that basically just takes him back to his default power because he does have a strained fitness rating right now. And strike 3, another beautiful pitching show here from Lou. Lou is lucky. That almost looks like it almost went past the second baseman Werther's there. And that ball does hit the gap. Pacheco gets it, throws it home, and it's not going to get there in time. And Michigan will now have a 2-run lead. Ball gets fouled past first. And across the field over by third. And strike 3. So through 4 innings, so far Michigan has 2 runs on 6 hits. Georgia is yet to get anything going. And again, for a low-scoring team like Georgia, 2 runs can be quite a mountain for them to climb back from. So we're going to have to see what happens here. Oh, that ball had some nice power behind it, but does drift foul. Hard grounder over to Crane. Out 1. Griffin was walked earlier today. And she finally gets a nice hit. That's going to hit the wall going back, which will likely get her at least a second. Friendly does not have a great arm. Alright, that also got Griffin's mojo back up, which is big. Now, Werther's, he has struggled, and with his mojo plus his fitness, his bars right now are just wrecked. That being said, he can still get a hit, so let's see what happens here. And he does strike out. Griffin back there on second, saying, give me something. Let me run these bases. Get us at least one run. Pacheco in the regular season only had 18 RBIs. He actually gets walked there. He only has 18 RBIs, though, in the regular season, which was least on their starting lineup. So now Peralta is going to come in. Peralta had some decent stats, but gets a very slow grounder, which is going to result in out 3. So Lou, stepping up here, has pitched 66 pitches. As a reminder, Georgia is the team that has Morgan Myers, who is their S-rated relief pitcher. And now it does get back for that one, because they're just in time. So Friendly, earlier in this game, I was talking about how she had been struggling, and then she popped a nice home run. And that one's not going to be a home run, but that one is going to land in front of Hangnail. So Friendly is now having a turnaround game in this series for her. The normal leadoff first in the batting order, Grubbs, back up here, and again, he's been great. And he swings on that one for out 2. Lou is now at 75 pitches, and we can see that stamina starting to impact him. The ball's going to hit. Pacheco's going to throw it in. Michigan does hold at second, but Gray Weather now stepping up. They're going to keep Lou in. We're going to see how this goes for them. Starts things off with 2 balls. 3 balls. And he walks Gray Weather, which I have mixed feelings about. I mean, Gray Weather, we know, is one of the best batters in this tournament, so it's scary. But then Lou almost hits Hood here. There are 2 outs. He needs to limit Hood to a grounder, or at best a strikeout here. Slow grounder. And that will end the inning. Georgia, despite letting up a lot of hits so far, has limited how many players have actually crossed home. So we're still looking at only a 2-run lead for Michigan. Hope does have a significantly lower pitch count so far. Briggs, what a catch! He's just been on fire this series. So I don't recall how many... This ball's going to be caught, by the way. I don't remember how many pitches he had last game, but it is important to note here. Camille Hope is a B- starting pitcher. I'm pretty sure we saw Precious at least some last game. So I'm not sure we're going to be able to see him this game, which limits them. Let's see, though. That looks like a pop, and it does get out of the park. So Georgia has now brought this back to only a 1-run game. A nice 455-footer hit by Munster. What I was saying, though, is Camille Hope does not have the best relief pitching to go on to. So they're probably going to keep her in there as long as they can. She's now working with a 1-run lead, pitching to Harry Nichols here. And that one gets called a strike. And going into the bottom of the 6th, Georgia now brought this into a 1-run game. Michigan will be starting off with Moody. And Lou is going to be swapped for Myers here, which is probably the right call. I was actually wondering if Myers was going to come in when we saw gray weather last inning. But it's good that Georgia was able to get through that with Lou. With Myers, even though she's an S pitcher, and just look at that, just wonderful, wonderful first out as she steps in. But with the relief pitcher situation, she will only really be able to pitch probably 2 innings or 3 innings, just based on how their stamina works. Rounder, and it's foul. She also has that composed positive trait, so when she's on 2 strikes, her accuracy goes basically above 100%. Strike 1. Strike 2. And actually, wait, maybe composed is actually 3 balls, not 2 strikes. But she gets the 3rd strike out there. So now, Georgia, right now, is going into the top of the 7th. So they basically have 3 innings. They need to at least score 1 run to keep themselves alive. Hope right now is with our locked-in mojo, just helping counteract her stamina so far. That ball is hit. Does it have the distance? It doesn't look like it. It looks like Greyweather is saying that he can get it, and he does. Gets it about 10 feet from the wall. Slow grounder makes it past the pitcher. Briggs fields it though. And Briggs, again, just what a wonderful series from him. They're going to bring in a pinch hitter here. Werther's going to be swapped out for Morton. And Morton has come in this series in the past. In the regular season, he did show up in about half of their games, hit 5 home runs, and batted a .261. That is a nice pop ball, but I think Friendly does get it there in center field. Michigan going to be leading off with Samplemore. Myers, you can see, just kind of pitching around the strike zone here, hoping to get them to swing when they shouldn't. Bat gets shattered. That is a quick out 1. With Myers, her regular season as a relief pitcher, she had 6 wins, 3 losses, 3.04 ERA. And again, I think I said this in one of the early games, but she had 120 strikeouts in those games, which was second on this team. So she is the type of player who can really put that pitching work in. And you can see here this will be her 30th pitch. Her stamina bar is already halfway gone, but she gets them through another inning. So Georgia is going to be stepping up here with kind of the weaker end of their batting order, 7, 8, and 9 here. Carter Pacheco will be leading off. He's the right fielder. Hard ball hits a crane. That's out 1. Peralta is now going to be swapped out with actually it's A.I. Goodwin. Let's take a quick look here. Goodwin in the regular season only showed up in 20 of their games, and she actually gets walked. In those 20 games, she was by far the worst batting stats on this team. So walking her was probably not a great idea. Michigan does now bring in Precious. And Precious has had a great couple of games when he's come in. Gets out hangnail. We'll need to see if this ends up ending this series. We'll be looking at best overall MVPs at the end of the game. But Precious walks Nicholson there, which not a great idea. But Precious is probably in the top 5 players of this series. And that ball is hit. It does land. Oh, and it gets right past Greyweather. This is actually huge. Greyweather has a great arm. But Georgia gets 2 runs off of that. And, oh, man. That was... It's not going to count as one, but Greyweather should have gotten that before it got past him and hit the wall and went into the corner. This is huge. Georgia... now actually with the lead going into the bottom of the 8th. Georgia has 3 runs on 3 hits. Talk about efficiency. And Michigan, you just know that they do not want to go to a Game 7. That ball is hit but does not have the distance. Hangnail catches it in center field. Greyweather. When you have your S-rated players going up against each other right here, this is a standoff in a very big moment. Myers starts things out with 3 balls. And she walks Greyweather. As a reminder here, Greyweather has a significant stealing ability. So we'll see how this pans out. They're expecting him to take off. You can see right there. Especially with the catcher for Georgia has an extremely weak arm right now. And the ball gets away. That's going to let Greyweather get to second without even really needing to steal. Ooh. And then they walk Hood. Georgia, this is 2 S-rated players have both made a number of mistakes here. Now they're going to bring in Shepard, who we saw earlier in the series, and she struggled when she came in earlier in the series. She right now is pitching around Moody. You can see there she's expecting Greyweather to potentially take off for third. And that ball is going to land. Greyweather is going to be sent home, and he ties the game. Ooh. This is just ripping at heartstrings of the players of these 2 teams. Georgia wants to get into Game 7 and potentially get further into this tournament. Michigan is saying we do not want to hard hit. 1 out, but here we go. So it's 2 outs now. And Crane here is stepping up. You just know Michigan came into this series as the expected winner by a pretty big margin. So the fact that we're potentially looking at a Game 7 is definitely worrying to some of their players. Here we go, though. Zoe Shepard gets the strike 3. So we're going into the 9th inning. It is a tied game right now. Georgia will be starting us off. They do have a number of their best batters. They will be going up against A+ rated Precious. That one gets called foul. hit that as well. Another foul. You know what, if nothing else, is one of those at-bats where, oh, he walked him. That is devastating. Precious, that was at least, 6 or 7 pitches? And his stamina bar is just wrecked already. That ball gets hit. That should be caught. And it is by Crane there. For Michigan, though, this is very important because Michigan does not have a great bullpen, and Precious is now at the point where if we go to a Game 7, I'm not even sure he's going to pitch. Bates, who is now in, we haven't seen it all. This should result in a double play, though, and it does. So here we go. Michigan has 3 outs to go ahead and close out this series, or we're going to be looking at extra innings and a potential Game 7. I'm interested if Georgia pulls Shepard for McDowell, who is their designated closer. That ball is hit. Is it gone? Sample more. Ends it. That will end the series. Michigan almost looking at a Game 7, comes into the bottom of the 9th of Game 6 and closes out this series. This gets them into the round of 8. Absolutely great show from their starting pitcher, Camille Hope. Michigan advancing to that round of 8, and they will be a team to be reckoned with. What a great Game 6. Came down at the bottom of the 9th. Let's take a look at the box score here. Again, Georgia, they're not a high-hitting, high-scoring team. Look at that efficiency, though. 3 hits, 3 runs. Michigan does have that hitting ability. And even though it struggled a little bit in this series, they also have a very decent pitching staff. So this game from Michigan, key. Let's take a look for MVP of the game. MVP of the game might be going to Camille Hope, but let me just take a look here. MVP can go to the losing team, so somebody like Munster from Georgia does probably stand a chance of winning it. But let's take a look here. Camille Hope just had such a great starting pitching performance. I have a feeling that that's who I think is going to get MVP. Let's see what the game thinks. It does give it to the losing team player here in Munster. But then followed that up by Grayweather and actually Heidi Friendly, who, again, struggled with every game except this one. She put on a show this game. So with that, this wraps up the series. So we'd have to take a look at series MVPs and the goodbyes for Georgia. So let's hop into that. So here we go. This was the top 10 that the game has decided for this series. The MVP of the series itself went to Pablo Campos, who is the starting pitcher for Georgia. And he had 2 great games. You can see there he led this with 16 innings pitched, a 2.25 ERA, 18 strikeouts, and he did have a complete game. He almost had 2 complete games. So just great showing from him. But he was not able to bring Georgia on top of this. So from Michigan, Chern Ferguson, came in and also had just a fantastic game 1 and game 5. Then we had Precious, who again is their A-plus relief pitcher, came in and did great. I mentioned earlier in this game that he would probably be in the top 5. Game puts him there at 3. And then from a batting perspective, Grayweather and Briggs both had huge hitting moments for Michigan, which allowed Michigan to advance here to the round of 8. So with this, we are going to be saying goodbye to Georgia. Georgia had a number of big names we will no longer be hearing from. Their starting pitcher, Pablo Campos, their relief S-rated pitcher, Morgan Myers, and then on the batting side of things, Madeline Griffin, who again was second in the league in hits, she will no longer be in our series. Their leadoff, Nicholson, Munster, Harry Nichols, Pacheco, Hangnow, a lot of names that we'll no longer be hearing as Michigan, once again, moves on to the round of 8. So with that, that also wraps up the round of 16 for the left conference. We are now going to be moving to the other 8 teams in the round of 16 over in the right conference, and I'll be catching you guys for game 1.